Hey, have you ever heard of something called the simple equation? If not, you gotta watch this video today. And if you don't watch it, you will regret it. Because I tell you something, unless you know the simple equation, you'll never be wealthy. Stay tuned. So what in daylights is the simple equation? Hi, my name is Frank Thomas and I'd like to talk wealth generation strategies, and today we're going to be talking about what I like to call the simple equation. Now the simple equation is basically, you'll see it in lots of different ways in different books, but it's basically A minus B equals C. It doesn't get easier than that. When it comes to generating wealth, I like easy. It does not get any easier than the simple equation. A is what you got coming in, and B is what you got going out, and C is what you got left over. Now, don't run away on me. Please listen, because you got to really get this. Way back when, in the around 1737, this is one of the first published times that this expression was quoted. And apparently it was quoted by Benjamin Franklin. And I've been reading some historical records, and there's argument on it. But basically the saying is, a penny saved is a penny earned. Now that's a really interesting thing. It's not saying a penny that you make from work is a penny earned. A penny saved is a penny earned. Looking at the simple equation, it makes sense, because if you make $10,000 a month, and your living expenses are $10,000 a month, at the end of the month, what do you got left over? You got nothing. So you've earned nothing. You got nothing to put away for the long term. Now, we want to change that. If you want to become successful at becoming wealthy and build multiple streams of income and do all those wonderful things, you got to get this. You got to understand and put into practice the simple equation. We need to find ways to boost your A. So we want to make sure that we boost your A, and your A is what you got coming in every month. In other words, we want to make sure that you make that A value, if you're looking at a monthly basis, is as high as physically possible. If you're, let's take your initial example of 10,000 in, 10,000 out. Let's say you raised your incoming to 12,000 a month. All of a sudden, you have $2,000 as the C figure, because 12,000 minus 10,000 equals 2,000. Now, realize I didn't raise the B value. In other words, your expenses going out. Because you always have to remember that your expenses going out is eroding your ability to have a larger C value, which is what you got left over. So we want to increase that number. So there's a few different ways that I have come across that are just simple. And the first one is to do additional work. It sucks, but it's the truth. If you can make a few extra bucks by doing a little bit of extra work for somebody, then you can definitely increase your earnings. And if you're already living within the means of what your full-time job is providing you, then this extra is slush. Do not treat it like fun money, like go out and spend it. This is where you get smart and you put it away. The cool thing is, if you're using investment accounts like RRSPs, you can put that 100% away. And in the States, it's like a 401k. You can put it all away. You can save 100% of it. Not 60% or 10% or 5%, 100%. So if you earn an extra $1,000 a month, it's all yours, or an extra $2,000, it's all yours to save. You start putting away an extra $2,000 a month, I promise you, it ramps up very quickly. Just even without considering compounding interest, that's $24,000 a year. That's sizable over the long term. Okay, second way to increase our A value is acquire assets that can pay a return. In other words, let's say you earn an extra $2,000 and you discover you can purchase something that you can, let's say, rent. Let's say you bought a car for $2,000 and you're able to rent it out and you're able to get a return of $1,000 a month. Now that's a good investment, because what happens is you've taken your $2,000 and every month it's going to give you another $1,000 a month. Yes, you did spend that $2,000 on something, but you spent it on an asset that's going to increase your A value again. We want to acquire assets that don't require us to continuously trade time for money, time for money. We want to acquire assets that will allow us to allow that asset, the time on that asset, to be what we get in return, okay? So that's another way. Another way is to seek more education. Always seek more education. If you're a general laborer, you're kind of at the bottom of the totem pole. You don't have any really specialized skills other than the sweat of your brow and the strength of your back, so to speak. Now, let's say you started to go and get an apprenticeship as an electrician. One of my future son-in-laws is doing that right now. Let's say he does that. All of a sudden, he goes from earning $15 or $17 or $18 an hour to $22 an hour. So automatically, he's increased his hourly rate. That means he's getting more for the same amount of work. If you're working a standard 40-hour work week, you're working roughly 240 to 260 days a year, what happens is that equates out to that $1 turns into $2,000 at the end of the year in gross earning potential. That's an extra possible $2,000 after a year that can be put away. Now, it doesn't sound like much. Let's say you take a course and you can earn an extra $10 an hour. All of a sudden, that becomes $20,000 potential a year. Can you see the math here? You're not working extra time and all of a sudden you have extra money coming in. That's one of the strategies I advocate all the time. I've increased my earning potential from about $30 an hour to well over $100 an hour by doing just that. So those are ways to increase your A value. Now, the second thing we always want to do is decrease our B, because remember, the simple equation is A minus B equals C. So we want to decrease our B. And these are all things that I've done as well. And they are potent because, again, it doesn't matter how we make the C bigger. It's just that we make it bigger, okay? That's what's important here. So the first one is pretty obvious. It's paying off debt. You want to pay off debt because it's eroding your ability to save. Because if you have debt, let's say you got $1,000 on a credit card, there's a potential $20 to $50 a month that you have to add to your expense column, which increases your B value, which reduces your C value. So we want to get rid of debt. That's pretty straightforward. The second thing is cancel any monthly bills that are unnecessary. In other words, things that you want, but you don't really need. That could be a Netflix subscription or a TV subscription that you're just not using very much. It could be services that you don't need anymore. Let's say you have way too much life insurance and that costs you every month. I'm in that position right now. I have a lot of life insurance on me and we don't really need it anymore. And by reducing my life insurance, I can increase my C value by about $300 a month. That's pretty sizable. The third thing you can do is whatever you can't get rid of in terms of your bills, negotiate your other bills. Now you'd think, can I do that? Absolutely. Now some bills are non-negotiable. Whatever you pay in, let's say, taxes, this tax man's going to want his money. The only way you can ever negotiate that is if you find that, let's say you're paying property taxes and your property is overvalued by the government. Then you can get a bit of a break. And I do say chase after that. But there's other things too. Negotiate things like your home insurance, your car insurance. See if you got the best rate. See if you got the best options. Do you need to have certain types of coverage? I tell you something, an insurance agent would love to sell you every product that's in his portfolio every single time. Hey, he's a businessman. He's trying to make money too. Make sure whatever you're getting in terms of negotiating is right. We had a situation where our house insurance was like almost $600 a month. After strong negotiation, and I actually had to go to another brokerage house, I was able to get it down to about $270 a month. That, again, is a sizable difference. Just by negotiating bills and removing bills that were unnecessary, I was able to take well over $1,200 off the B figure or my monthly expenses, which, again, is significant. You got your A and your B sorted out. What are you going to do with your C? Now, this is really critical. Because remember, Benjamin Franklin had a penny saved is a penny earned. The way I like to look at it is, and it's an eye-opener when you look at it this way, any money that you earn, or I hate to say earned, that you acquired for your paycheck, and any bills you had to pay, You're literally a custodian of that money difference, that A minus B, whatever that is, that B value, whatever your expenses are, you were just a custodian of that money for a very short period of time. Could have been a couple days, could have been a week or two, maybe. But you only had it in your possession for a very short period of time. It's the C value that you earn, that you keep for the long term, and that's really important. So what you want to do is you start amassing this C value. No matter how you look at it, I don't care who you are, you have to start amassing a long-term savings portfolio of one form or another if you want to become independently wealthy. Now, it's a neat expression, independently wealthy. What does that mean? It means you're not dependent on a job. You're not dependent on somebody else. You're not dependent, period. When you become independently wealthy, you have enough money that your long-term savings is so much, and you've amassed enough that you'll never deplete it before the end of your life. That's what you're trying to do. Anybody who's doing FIRE, financial independence, retire early, or if you're just trying to retire at 65, you got to amass a long-term savings portfolio. There's a few recommendations that I make. Reinvest your returns, especially in the beginning. This is the power of compound interest. Reinvest, reinvest, reinvest. Don't overcomplicate it. Reinvesting could be something as simple as you've bought, let's say, a whole bunch of stocks in a company and they pay you a dividend every 3 months or every month or whatever it is. At the end of the month, you take all that money and you reinvest it into more stocks. Simple as that. Yeah, I would say here diversification is key to protecting your portfolio. There is no way that nobody's got a crystal ball that they can read and say, hey, if you invest into XYZ, you're going to be rich. People like to say, if you only invested into Apple way back in 1989 or 1990, whatever it is, you could have invested into Compaq and you would have went broke in the long term. It's important to understand nobody has a crystal ball. Even people like Berkshire Hathaway, the people there, they diversify. That's how they make their money. They operate on the pretense, I'm going to buy some. For example, I bought Coke and I bought Iron Mountain and I bought Manulife and I bought the electric companies. I bought the oil companies. I bought lots of different companies. 1 month these are up and some months these are down, and that's kind of the way it is. But diversification for me has been very worthwhile. It required acquiring more knowledge and understanding how a lot of these companies work, and there's something called ETFs, exchange traded funds, how they work in that. But even in exchange traded funds, there is diversification in the fund in a lot of cases, but you want to have multiple funds across multiple companies. Again, you're diversifying your portfolio. So if one thing goes south on you, you don't lose everything. That's the trick. Now, I'm going to wrap up with what I think is one of the most important tips of all here. And before I do, I'm going to ask, have you subscribed? Be sure that you do subscribe. Be sure that you click that like button. It helps this video out. So be sure to subscribe. Hey, let's get into our final tip. So the final tip is one you've probably heard before. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. You know, your friend is not greed. I will tell you something. There was an investment that I put $10,000 into. Yeah, I'm not too smart some days. $10,000 into, and they were promising a 1.5% return daily. I should have realized that this was too good to be true. It was just too good to be true, because if you think of it, 1.5% amasses up to be a lot of money really fast, like 300-400% a year. There is no way on earth are you going to get that unless you found a stock that is just crazy and you lucked into it. I can't put another word into it, and everything just worked out for you. The moon and the stars all aligned. It happens every once in a while, but not very often. You can't, that's not your long-term strategy. So if it's too good, if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't. Yes, I lost the $10,000. It was very frustrating, and I had to lose a few other dollars too in other investments. I hope that you got something from this. So remember, the real simple equation is A minus B equals C. A is what you got coming in, B is what you got to pay going out, and C is what you earn on a monthly basis. Be sure to stay tuned. Hey, there's another great video you're going to want to watch right here. It's talking about strategies on how to save more money. So it's strategies even beyond the simple equation. So go watch it. It's good. And thanks. Be sure to like the video. We'll talk to you soon. This is Frank Thomas. Have a nice day.